Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and for this video and probably most of the videos today, it'll only be me as Neon is busy elsewhere. So today we're going to talk about Bob Iger, and Bob Iger apparently went to an ABC News closed-door editorial meeting, and allegedly, according to the sources, basically kind of were telling them to talk about Trump tariffs because he's mad because it might impact Disney's bottom line, which is kind of like a conflict of interest if you own the news outlet. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at why cruise ships are so important to Disney. Before we get into it any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I will give you a woohoo. Woohoo. And we're going to talk about this. So yeah, apparently it came out, The Wrap covered it, but it was on Status News, which is run by Oliver Darcy, that Bob Iger went to a closed-door meeting and a daily editorial meeting. And he was expressing his concern over the new tariffs, the Liberation Day tariffs that Trump are going to initiate. Now, I want to point out, though, the tariffs, we're tariffed by other countries all the time. And a lot of times we haven't tariffed them to the same level or tariffed them back at all. So I think a lot of this is to be, well, we're paying tariffs to you. You should have to pay tariffs to us as well. And I think some of it's, they're strong arming a little bit here and there to offset the amount we pay in comparison to what they pay, or they make us pay. So he's very upset about this because he's very, very concerned that these new tariffs are going to impact the construction of Disney Cruise Line ships. So that's what he's upset about. According to the article in The Wrap, they said staffers felt Iger was trying to push for ABC News to report his opinions to the viewers, and I said would be conflict of interest. The Wrap said their sources indicated Bob Iger was trying to sound the alarm on President Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs and the impact they may have on not just his company, but the American economy at large. He's worried about the issues of the relocating overseas manufacturing back to the United States speedily because he's saying, which is not untrue, he's saying that a lot of places aren't prepared. They don't have the setup anymore. It takes a little while to set that up. And then if you set it up, you're going to have trained workers for some, places. My comment was, well, maybe you shouldn't have moved everything out of the United States in the first place to make it cheaper for yourselves. Then you wouldn't be in this position now. And it's also about damn time they made them bring jobs back to the U.S. But, all that aside, they're worried about things like steel and stuff. And some of the things I was reading weren't even going to be like tariffed that much, but they're worried about some of the things they would use to produce these ships and the cost of the ships being so high that they're going to have to basically cancel a couple. So he's worried about the impacts of tariffs on Hollywood and the cruise lines in regards to the ships, because Disney has 8 ships coming. They're going to have 13 ships in total by 2031. 13 cruise ships across the world. They started out just leaving here and going to the Bahamas and stuff, sometimes up to Canada. And now they're going to put them in Singapore. They're putting them down by Australia. They're setting them all over the place to try to, get these cruise ships everywhere. They want to have 13 by 2031. Here, Disney Magic, Disney Treasure, Disney Wish, Disney Dream, Disney Fantasy, Disney Wonder are all out. Disney Adventure's coming out this year. Disney Destiny's coming out this year. I think the Disney Adventure I thought was already out. Anyway, then they're going to have the Triton ship class. It's going to be with the Oriental Land Company by 2029. And they just keep ordering more and more ships. Said that their timelines between 2027 and 2031 for the new ones, the 4 new ones they just added on top of these other ones. And you're like, why would they be so focused on cruise ships? Because they make them a shit ton of money. It's ridiculous how much they charge for these cruise ships. So they're talking here about investors, which, by the way, their stock is in the trash can. But then again, everybody's stock's kind of tanking right now because of the tariff situation. But Disney stock's really crashing right now. And I don't think it's just the tariffs. People are just, if you have to offload something, offload Disney. These businesses have a higher return on invested capital than your average non-Disney cruise business. The Disney Treasure, for example, can carry 4,000 passengers and about 1,500 crew members. Prices for the maiden voyage started at $8,511 per person. If you go to the suites, tens of thousands of dollars. And you're talking like for a few days. Sometimes it's just a 3-day. Sometimes it's like a 5 or 6 day. Sometimes it can go up to 8. But you're paying thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for a suite. on Disney Cruise Line. And all you're going to do is onboard entertainment. You go to whatever island they stop at, if they stop places that you can let you go off and check some things out. And then you get back on the ship and then go home. Like, except for the water slides or the different things they have on board for entertainment, theater shows, movies, etc. You're just basically on a ship where you can go shop, spend money, eat, go do what they want you to do, and then you get off and it costs you that much money per person. You could have gone to, hung out in Europe for like a month. You could have gone to 2 or 3 of the Disney parks for that price. It's insane. That's why they want to keep pushing this out, because that's per person, per ship, per cruise. And a lot of times these cruises are like, every week. So times like, let's just be conservative, 40 cruises a year for each ship. And that's conservative. It's more than that, I'm sure. At $8,500 and some dollars per person. And then they have, they can carry 4,000 passengers. I mean, do the math. It is insane. This is why they keep pushing Disney Cruise Lines. I personally think it's dumb. The parks are better, but they're companies considering it their big growth business. This is back, when was this? This is Yahoo Finance back in November of last year. And they're talking about how Iger, was noting the treasure recreates rides, characters, and storylines from the theme park. That's the one that has like the Haunted Mansion bar and stuff in it. And they're basically trying to use that to win people over. You don't have to go to the Haunted Mansion. You can come to the knockoff Haunted Mansion and be allowed to spend 20 minutes in the bar. Or it's like what do they call it? It's not, kids can go in too, so it's not like actually a bar, but they serve drinks. 20 minutes, and then you have to be kicked out because you're limited on your time. Or you can pay a fraction of that per person, go to the Disney parks. That's like a week for a family. $8,000, depending if you stay at like a value resort or something. And that's days and days of going to the parks and getting interaction with the characters and everything. Going on the real Haunted Mansion, if you want to more than once. It's insane the amount of money they charge. So that's why he's really, really, really worried about losing money on the ships, because if the costs become too high, it may cause Disney to ditch some of their Disney Cruise Line ships. Staffers described Iger as continuously jumping into the conversation to share his thoughts and offer more on what Darcy said were unfiltered views. He expressed concern for Disney's cruise line, particularly 2 new ships that rely on steel for their construction, and how the company may have to scale back spending if costs rise too high. Well, yeah, I don't think all the ships cost that much. I think that's a maiden voyage. But even if it was a few $1,000s per person, let's just say, for argument's sake, $3,000, $4,000 per person on these ships, times 4,000 times how many sailings a year. That's what they're putting all their money in. But then they won't keep building more ships if the costs get too high. But if it's a constant moneymaker, and that's what you're telling investors to believe you about, I think you'd still push forward. But that's just me. I think it's kind of overstepping, because they basically said that he kept mentioning in the discussion about how most people don't understand how tariffs work. And according to the sources, he seemed to push for quote unquote ABC News to connect the dots for readers and viewers, which sounds to me, again, in my opinion, from what I'm reading, it sounds to me like he was pushing ABC. He showed up to a surprise, I'm here for the ABC News editorial meeting. Now, he used to run ABC News. He was from ABC News. Surprise, I'm here, and I just want to have a chat with you guys. Here's my thoughts and concerns. Why would you go to ABC News for that? Unless the people felt that they were supposed to take what he said and go report it. So it sounds to me like the staffers feel, and what it reads like to me, was Iger showed up for the sole purpose of, I'm going to tell you the stuff I'm worried about. You go out there and tell the masses. You go out and hit the readers and viewers, and you tell them about these things what I think are important, because it's going to hurt Disney's bottom line. And hence, it's going to hurt for your job and everything else, because it's going to hurt Disney's bottom line. Now, never mind, Disney doesn't care about the guest's bottom line when they keep raising prices willy-nilly for no good reason. When they keep doing upcharges and things, but when something might impact them, oh my God, guys, that's like the worst thing ever. You better get out there and stir up the masses, the uneducated idiots who don't understand what tariffs are, and you better stir them up so they go out against Trump, so we can stop the tariffs and make sure that, I can still make my cruise ships for affordable prices. But to go to their meeting and just show up and then spend the time interjecting stuff in their meeting, which basically made people feel like they were being told to cover what he wanted them to cover and say what he wanted them to say. Major overstep, if it's true. I see no reason why not to believe it. But, it makes sense. It kind of, it totally makes sense. But here we are. And it's like, where is the line drawn? What can CEOs do and not do? And then that's concerning because basically Iger feels that since it might cost Disney more money, he can show up to an editorial meeting at a news network that is owned by Disney to impose his thoughts. And that's very concerning, honestly. So what do you think? Comment and let us know, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.